Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, oh, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So welcome, Hare Krishna. My name is Nityananda Chandra, and I first was introduced to Bhakti back in 1993, before you were born, I'm sure, when I was 14 years old. And then at 1999, I became a monk. And as a monk, we lived a very, quite serious lifestyle. Late wake up was 4 a.m. You know, we would wake up at 3 a.m., 3:30. Sometimes maybe even wake up earlier. We wake up really early. We do at least 2 hours of meditation. That's just part of it. Then there's the temple songs and prayers and rituals. And so basically from 4:30 to 9:30 in the morning, you're engaged. And then you go out and do teaching activities or different services at the temple. And you're busy like this throughout the day. And you also have your reading time and like this into the evening. And so as monks, there are various principles that we basically got a taste for, got an experience of. Just like these chairs are standing on 4 legs, there's said to be 4 legs of Dharma, 4 legs of, what you could say, righteous action. And so that is cleanliness, discipline, truthfulness, and compassion. So, and then there's also principles that are related to these legs of righteousness. And so one of them is no intoxication, because that goes against keeping the mind clear and clean. Another one is no sleeping around, because that goes against the principle of having discipline. Some of these overlap as well. There are overlaps. We gave up eating meat, vegetarian, so that goes against compassion. And kind of easy one, there's no gambling, which actually goes against honesty. Anybody guess why that goes against honesty?
Is it because you're kind of tricking yourself into thinking you'll win something? Or
Very good point. Yeah.
A manipulative tactic.
Yeah. One principle is a person who lives dharmically they have this understanding. I have certain gifts, I have certain abilities, and if I just do my honest endeavor, whatever I'm karmically meant to get, whatever I truly deserve is going to come my way. I don't have to cheat my fate and get fortunes. And there's so many people as smart as Bill Gates, but they didn't get the income like Bill Gates. Somebody has a karma to be extremely wealthy. We just have to put our honest endeavor. We don't have to go through the black market or cheat or other different ways. We can just try it honestly, and then whatever comes is kind of just have that trust. So that's in a sense kind of goes against that leg of truthfulness. And usually when there's gambling, there's going to be other of those legs are going to be, the prostitution's going to be around, or if you go to Vegas, it's going to be like prostitution, a lot of intoxication, and all these other things that are kind of mixed in with it. So the reason I bring this up is, as a monk, we became very comfortable with the thing of no intoxication. And so I have a question for you. And actually in the late 90s, when I became a monk, and then 2000s, I did hear sometimes a story of monks or kind of devotees who lived that monastic lifestyle getting in terrible car crashes. Can you guess why? Maybe no caffeine, because they wouldn't even take caffeine. And so the idea of taking a caffeinated thing wasn't even on their mind. But you'd hear these accidents that would happen, like somebody gets in this terrible accident, and perhaps it could have been avoided. So the question is, have you been in a situation where you felt like you compromised perhaps something more pragmatic or practical because you had some ideal you were holding on to and maybe it wasn't the right decision? Or on the other side, have you compromised an ideal because, maybe you felt something was, you had an opportunity there, but you just kind of were a little bit more opportunistic, and maybe you gave up your personal ideals. You can share some failure, or if you, it might be easy to share something that you held to your ideals, or you compromised your ideal for something practical, but it was a positive. It was, anything comes to mind. Mars.
One that actually comes to mind for me is a failure, and it's fairly recent. I don't actually usually enjoy getting intoxicated. I don't like to drink typically, but I was at another religious service, at a Jewish religious service, and they were having wine afterwards, and I said yes, and I definitely regretted it later.
Okay, thank you. So that was it's the pushing of practicality was there, but you felt, I shouldn't.
I felt like I should do it in order to be part of what they were doing and to experience the ceremony that we were in the middle of. And
yeah.
I do regret it, actually.
Okay. So, anybody else here? Now, I'm just telling you for myself. Now, I drive. I have 3 kids. I put a 5-hour energy drink in the car. I'm not going to murder the family. But for most people who are coming to the temple or practicing new or didn't live, it's like the obvious answer. And for somebody who was trained in that kind of monastic life, it was like the obviously no, and the other one was like the obvious yes. But there is a very interesting tension that is there, which we'll be covering. Any other reflections? Yes.
This whole year, my sleep schedule has been really bad.
Sleep schedule.
My sleep schedule has been really bad. It's always gotten worse. I feel like it could have been early I could have corrected before I wouldn't have gotten worse. And that's because, I put a limit on how I use YouTube. I always always press the button, forget the limit, So, yeah. So when I have my, when your life flashes before you when you die, it's just gonna be a bunch of cat videos.
Cat videos, yes, yeah. So, yes.
I'm vegan, avoid dairy, avoid eggs, avoid all of the animal products. But when I go to the Brooklyn Temple, for example, or recently, I babysit for this woman who's a part of Girl Scouts, and she gifted me these Girl Scout cookies, and they had dairy in them, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll eat them. Even though I didn't have to. And it compromised my value of compassion for the cows and the way they
Yes. Thank you. Anybody else have any reflections? Yes.
I think I've started teaching. I've been teaching 8th graders for the past couple of weeks, and I think out of compassion, I'm trying to not. Of course, at certain points you have to be strict, but I've been trying to be compassionate towards them and not be angry with them, not be mean towards them. And I think definitely this week there have been moments where students have just rebelled in ways, and I didn't choose compassion, and I was angry or yelled, and definitely going back, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good to not have made the choice of compassion first.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So, one thing we're going to talk about is it's a spectrum of how we deal with moral reasoning, ethical reasoning. And different approaches can be seen in different ways, just like a jewel can be looked at in different ways, and you find different colors maybe hidden in the jewel. So one way is this spectrum which between deontology, which is probably, I'm sure, everyone's first time hearing this, unless you've heard me talk about it, and consequentialism. So this is a term that was originally coined by Jeremy Bentham, and he coined this term in contrast to his own philosophy of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a sense of creating a moral philosophy that it's based on whatever is for the highest sense of happiness for the most people. That's what you call utilitarianism. And so the opposite of that, he coined deontology. Deontology, as you see here, means the ends do not justify the means. Deontology, deon means duty, means that there within an act is merit. Like there's something good about not telling a lie within itself. Or there's something good in not harming somebody. It's principled. Yes?
Yeah, well, one thing about like utilitarianism, the idea of like always look at things only based on consequence, is that I always feel like there's always a consequence. So that even if you lie, for example, it corrupts your character.
Okay. So yeah, that's true, yeah. There's always a consequence. Very good point. Thank you.
Can I add to that?
Yes, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned it because I resonate with that. You can have that positive consequence, it can have more of a negative consequence. Yeah, I feel like I felt that recently, being honest with some people, that I felt that consequence of what would the relationship look like afterwards.
Mm. Yeah, in the understanding of karma, there describes that karma manifests itself in different stages. It was called parabda, aparabda, bijam, kutam. And so parabda means something that is showing itself. It's manifest. It's karma's in this analogy like a seed. And bij is like in the seed form. It's the result unseen. It's not even ready to be even fructified, and it starts to fructify and show itself. And so one of the elements of this cycle of karma is called hutam, which is the tendency to perform that action again. So you don't get the karma not just for stealing, but the tendency to again steal. So there's like that result, as you said, there's always a result. So as you see here, consequentialism is the idea that ends do justify the means. So deontology, as we'll show you, is the idea that mere performance of one's duty is the ultimate form of acting. The moral value of an act is found in the act itself, not in the consequence. For example, at all times, you should speak the truth. So consequentialism is more utilitarian. It's not really important if you're telling a lie or truth. What's more important is the consequence. Utility is the principle. So these are two kind of major camps. They're basically, it's a strain there. It's a different ideologies that are there. And you'll find, if you look into the ancient Bhagavad Gita, you'll find actually examples of both that are there. And so I'll share some. So one of the most duty kind of characters you have in the Mahabharata is, anybody from India?
Yeah. Bhishma.
Bhishma, yeah. Bhishma is the example. His name means one of fierce vows, who took this wild vow. He was a royal child. He was a royal son of Shantanu, and he took the vow that I will remain celibate my whole life. I will never have kids. And this is somebody who's by nature is also kind of, he's a king. He's like very ambitious, and that kind of ambition for power and being in charge doesn't really mix well with the kind of mood of celibacy. It's like those kind of things go together. Expanding your family, And so he took this fierce vow because his mother wanted to marry, or his father wanted to marry the daughter of a fisherman. She was exquisitely beautiful, and he wouldn't let her marry his daughter unless his lineage was secured. And he said, no, I won't. And the son said, I won't be the king. He said, well, what about your kids? What if they fight to be the king? Then my grandkids or kids will be threatened. He said, okay, I will never have a family. I'll never have a child. And he said, I don't care if the sun turns black. I don't care if the world is destroyed. I will never give up my vow. So this is Bhishma, very deontological, very duty-based character. But he later on in his life, he tells a story of a man who was running from the mafia. This is in the Mahabharata Shanti Parva. This man is running from the mafia, and he comes across a sage. He says, can you help me? These guys are going to kill me. I'm going to die. Please, can you help me? He said, yes, go hide in the attic. He said, okay, thank you. And he goes and hides in the attic. Then the mafia shows up. And unfortunately, he took the help of the wrong sage. This is a sage who took a vow, I will never tell a lie. And so the mafia showed up and said, hey, there's this guy who looks a little stressed and we're looking for him. He said, yes, he's in the attic. And then that man was killed. And the Bhishma Dev says, this sage, he got horrible karmic repercussions for not telling a lie, not protecting this person, not thinking about the consequence. And so here's one example of a failure with the kind of deontological stance where somebody actually suffered terribly. And so let's see what else we got here. So you have this in Bhagavad Gita. Anubhandam shayam himsam anapiksha chaporusham mohitam arabhyate karma yattat tamasamuchate. So this is a verse describing, this is in 18th chapter. And in 18th chapter, like the 17th and 14th chapter, breaks things down in 3 different modalities. What is called sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is the enlightened modality. Rajas is that modality of, I'm going to build my empire, I'm powerful, I want things, I'm strong, I'm going to get things, I'm going to be productive. And tamas is darkness, laziness. Generally in our world, we kind of deal with just the two. Don't be lazy, be productive. But there's this higher modality of being conscious, being very clear-headed. That's a flavor of this world that's not much tasted. So most of us, when we're around this world, we see the passion, the modality of being productive and the modality of laziness, and there's not much of this great clarity side. So in contrast to the side of clarity, and even in contrast to the side of productivity, is this tamasam, or ignorance. And he says, an action performed in moha, without clarity, with an illusion, without concern of future bondage or violence or distress, is said to be in the mode of darkness. And so this is... Now, at this point, it might seem that deontology seems a little bit kind of mindless. Just, here's a rule, follow the rule, follow the rule. It might seem a little bit mindless. And I've actually...
what's
future
future bondage?
bondage, future karmic results or future consequences, you could even say. It could be metaphysical or just physical, like that. So I left out a part of this verse, actually. And I left out what is the deontological part of the verse. And that's specifically where it says, in disregard of scriptural injunctions. And that actually, the Sanskrit word for that doesn't state scripture, but it's actually just saying bondage itself, anubandham, which means that there are the deontological side is a sense that there are objective truths. There are things that are of value. It's not just a sense of whatever you consider might be good for you. There's actual objective truths. And so when it says scripture, it doesn't mean like just some kind of dogmatic thing, but it's the idea that information is provided that is transcendent. Like, if I want to learn about Japan, I can't just sit on my butt here and just guess what's happening in Japan. I can't use my senses, so I can't use my logic of just guessing, and I can't use my senses with the telescope on the roof of the Bhakti Center. I need source material from Japan to understand something about Japan. I have to get some TV, some live stream, or meet somebody who came from there. I have to get something like that. And so when it's talking about scripture, it means knowledge that is coming from out of this world, that has an understanding of not just subjective truths. So you see it. So here's some examples of deontology in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna encourages Arjuna to fight. Arjuna gives really good reasons why he shouldn't fight. He says, I don't want to see women without their husbands, children without their fathers. I don't want to disrupt social harmony. Many of you might not know, but Bhagavad Gita is this story of Arjuna and Krishna. And Arjuna, the main hero of the Mahabharata, he comes across, he's fighting. It's a just fight. He had these people that are taking over the world, and he is the powerful warrior that's capable of stopping them. But because he's also very sattvic, he's very soft-hearted, very thoughtful. He doesn't just do something because I benefit. He's very careful to see, is this the right thing to do? And he has a lot of doubts. And doubt is a sign of intelligence. So Krishna's answer here, it's your duty. It's very confusing. You would have to have something wrong with you if you didn't feel something for Arjuna's arguments, or maybe even side with him. And so this deontology in the Bhagavad Gita is kind of like a Zen-like state, like a yogashta, means without considering of whether you win or lose, do the thing that you're supposed to do. So that's the deontological side. And then the consequentialist side we saw in that verse, we says, you have to consider violence, you have to consider consequence, you have to consider future bondage. There's this tension that is there. It's not just the rule said so, but does it actually, so let's see. Here's a question for you. So what are the problems you mentioned? One, what are some problems with consequentialism?
Well, I guess other ones, like, you just assume you know what's best. Like,
Very good, very good.
You know what the ultimate outcome is and what's best for everybody.
So there is an assumption that your truth is objective.
Right.
That, I know what's best. All these Indians in India are so skinny. Why don't they kill all those cows and become fatter and healthy? That I think that's best. And so there's an assumption of what's a good outcome. What else? What other problems with consequentialism?
Confusion. It leads to you might be confused about, like, on one hand, you might be too sure about what you have to do, but on the other end of the spectrum, you might be too confused about what is the right kind of action to take.
Thank you. And
maybe this is adding to what you said about having almost like if the outcome being someone's desires for a certain outcome being superior than others, it can lead to kind of suppressing the other person's self-expression, maybe their own path to that God intends for them. So it's almost like prohibiting someone else from realizing what is true for them.
Okay.
like almost up their fate destiny.
So here I'll give you one example of utilitarianism or consequentialism. So say the principle is like when you have to do with the triage, that's consequentialism. Well, means sorry, let me go back. Say you have a person who needs a new heart. You have another person who needs a new lung. You have another person who needs a new kidney. You have another person who needs a new gallbladder. And you have another person who needs a small intestine. So 5 people. And you have next door neighbor. He doesn't always take out the trash. And he doesn't, he's not the best neighbor and doesn't seem to have any family. So if you were to take him, take out his heart, his kidneys, take all these things, and you save the life of 5 people, by definition, that would be a higher utilization. But on principle, on duty, there's an intuitive sense. Wait, no, that's wrong. You can't just like take a random innocent person and kill them and give their organs to others. There's some principle that is being lacking there. So there's one objection is there's no standard of what is good. And you may have these problems where you might have a principle that's, or utilitarian principle, which is just basically a rule that says this is good, but then there's the rule doesn't always explain every single situation, like the situation of the 5 sick people and 1 innocent person. And what are some problems with deontology? Too rigid, maybe mindless, not really inflexible. The rule is the rule no matter what. Let's see, what do we got here? So like a kind of blind fanaticism, you could say. What else?
I think you need when you do something good, you still need to be practical with that. Like
Okay.
it's good to have ideals that like you're very stubborn and you don't find a practical way to realize it. It's not going to be realized.
Thank you. Yes. So I found that these tensions are repeated. And they're sometimes the exact same thing framed in a different way. And so our teacher, Srila Prabhupada, he said, purity is the force and utility is the principle. But if you look at these things, these are actually deontological and consequential. These are one is kind of sense of the sense of purity and the sense of practicality. So I'll give you an example. Srila Prabhupada, our teacher, he met, when he was a young man, his friends had asked him to come see a guru. And he's like, I don't want to see guru. I've seen all these gurus. They're always some of them are shams. Like, I don't want to see some big religious figure. I'm not interested. And I said, well, we have a lot of confidence in your discernment. And we think this guy is like a real teacher. He's not just some self-proclaimed prophet. He's like the real deal. And we want you to check him out. And so he came to class like this. And as soon as he came in, the teacher, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, said, young man, you're educated. You should take these ancient teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, put them into English and put them all around the world. And our teacher, Prabhupada, he argued. He said, he was very much a follower of the Gandhi movement. He said, we're ruled by foreign invaders, and who's going to listen to us? And he said his teacher, he was very pleased to become defeated by that teacher. He said, actually, the government situation may change, come and go, but that is merely more of the symptom of some kind of disease, but the heart of it is not being addressed by changing the political leadership. We need to address the purity needs to be there. It can't just be a change in the external side of it. Would you be able to close that door? Thank you. Now let's contrast that to later on in Srila Prabhupada's life. Srila Prabhupada came to America with no money. He had 2 heart attacks aboard a cargo ship. He had a trunk of books, a bag of oatmeal, and he didn't know whether to turn left or right. Made his way to New York City after landing in Boston Harbor. He struggled. He eventually opened the first temple on 2nd Avenue. And eventually he opened over 130 temples around the world, trained over 10,000 students, and wrote over 100 books. And so he asked his disciple, how will this movement go on later? And the disciple answered, sincerity, purity. And Prabhupada said, no. He said, intelligence and an organization, which is the sense of utility. Purity, utility. You see this tension that's going on? So purity is the force, utility is the principle. You also have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the father of the Kirtan movement. And during his time, the Qazi, the magistrate, the governing body, he banned this public Kirtan. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu organized a massive 1 million-man protest, 1 million people, all doing Kirtan. One of the first recorded non-violent protests that existed was Kirtan. And he had a discussion with the Qazi, and the Qazi was very pleased in that discussion. He said, I will stand for your right to do this. Now, he could have just said, no, that's a political act. I will not do anything political. I would just be spiritual and chant at home or something like that. But rather, it was, here you find something. The Gandhi thing, he was saying, no, we need something more. It's got to address the deeper spiritual issues that are there. But here on the other side, there's this political thing. But it was in regards to addressing something that was deeper and not just a change of government. How do you know? This is a good question. Yeah, good question. Actually, my teacher was with Srila Prabhupada, and he asked this question. He said, when you're not here, how do I know we're doing the right thing? And my teacher's sarcastic, and Prabhupada was always sarcastic with my teacher. And so Prabhupada said, you tried it, how do you know if you're going to do the right thing? You'll try, but you'll do the wrong thing. And the way he took it is that there's no substitution other than maturity, meaning actually becoming very deeply spiritually advanced. Otherwise, it's one of the principles that we see here, that it's not necessarily a formula other than becoming very deeply spiritual advanced. So an experience that you have learned from, that you actually grow from. So here you see this tension. So you see principle versus practical. Idealism versus opportunism. Opportunism is a sense like you can have this kind of utilitarian or consequentialist view, but if it's just for your opportunity, or is it for a higher opportunity? It can be looked at in that way. Another one is sentiment versus sensible. This is found in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita when it's talking about the discipline of speech, deontology and consequentialism. Religion versus philosophy. We have some cool quotes here. And this is also from a book called Nectar of Instruction, Niyamagraha or Niyamagraha. These are, agraha means to hold on. And if you know yoga, you have the yamas and niyamas. Niyamas are the rules. Holding too tight to the rules, but not understanding the essence, the purpose. Like maybe you don't tell a lie, but then you got someone killed. Like holding too tight to the rules, or just being too negligent. So that religion and philosophy, this is the sense of having that ideal and that reflective intelligence. So you could say one is proactive and the one is reactive. Proactive and reactive. So here we see, like many things that we do, we might not know. Like we have like the Industrial Revolution. We now we're wondering, was that the best thing? We might not always know what is a good consequence. Did it change things for better or for worse? So consequentialism is like you're going through just kind of guesswork, speculation. There's no establishment of what is actually good. And like even if you say for the greatest happiness of human beings, but then you have to ask the question, why? Why is that good? That's a nice sentiment, but then if you want to dig into it, you have to ask the question, why is that good? And deontology by itself, again, fanaticism, uncritical persons.
Are you screening slides?
Oh, there we go. So here's another one. You have doubt versus faith. This is like, how do you drive? Do you just step on the gas completely? Just slam your foot on the gas? That's very dangerous. So I came up with this quote, to have an answer but not questions, that's called blind faith. And to have questions but not wants an answer, that's called blind doubt. This is from Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter, is it 432. So you need these things to operate, to go through life. You need that kind of ideal or that trust or that willingness to look into something. And then you need that kind of reflective or reactive sense of using intelligence. And your spiritual life will improve both, because you have a clear sense of what is the actual ideal, what is the underlying ideal behind everything, not just this is a rule, that is a rule, where do I rate this rule, but what is the actual essence of it? And then you'll also have that deeper intelligence, spiritualized intelligence, where you'll know what is the right, you'll have a better idea of what to do.
Well, one way to look at when people have blind faith, it actually comes from a lot of fear. There's actually secretly a lot of doubt.
Yes, yeah. Unaddressed doubt, yeah.
There's also like atheist groups which they're very like fanatical, basically.
Oh, yeah.
No one can question them at all.
Yeah, a lot of times you would see in the past, like you have like religious forums or online, it was full of atheists. Like they're so moved by it. They're like full of like. So I thought of different analogies to address this spectrum and how this tension is very important. Ideally, to be pulling healthy on both sides. And so you see. When I took this picture near my sister-in-law's place, so you see how the water goes around this stone here, how the water goes around different stones. And so what kind of principle would you say is being emulated in that? The water going around the stone.
Would it be the purity versus the...
So the consequentialism is that kind of be able to react, to flexible. Remember the deontological is like, this is right. You know, water, get out of the way. I'm just going this way. So that reflexive, kind of reactive. But why is the water going anywhere? Gravity. So there is an anchor to it. So you see, water's not going to go around the stone if there's no gravity. So you have this pull of both. You have this reflexive, this reactive sense of going around, but you have the sense of there is a direction. So another example is a compass. Say you're lost. You're in a maze, you're in the forest, and the compass is very helpful. But a compass to where? Like you have a compass, but where is the best way to, I know where north is, but which way do I go to not die? I don't know. You could have a map, but then I don't know where I am on the map. Like I see a lake's in front of me, but I don't, so when you have these two things that together, you have the compass and you have the map, then it's very good. The compass alone, you're struggling. So the compass represents that deontological, like that principle, that ideal. It's showing. But the map says, okay, the compass says, you want to go that way, but there is a big lake, so you're going to go east, then north, then back west, and then you'll get to your safe zone. So that ability to react and be reflexive. So you have that. Another one is an architect. The architect, I want this building. I'm going to, they've given us, the city of New York decided to give us Governor's Island, and they said you're going to build a big Bhakti center on Governor's Island, and all of you guys are going to get together and help design. But we have we have this idea, okay, we want to build this beautiful building there. But then the engineer says, no, this part has stone, this part has sand, this part has really soft clay. We have to adjust some things that are being adjusted that according to that architect's vision. So, and you can find this even in our society, like in our political history. You have parts of our political history that really helped us with using one element of this or the other element. So, for example, the Bill of Rights, duties, that's deontology. That you should have this right, that right, or something. This is like a sense of duty. For example, the abolition, getting rid of slavery. If we went for a more consequentialist kind of view, we're like, let's get rid of it slowly. We don't know how it affects the economy. But no, there was a sense like, this is wrong. This is wrong. But then, I think it was after World War II, there was FDR's New Deal. There was like senses of like that without some type of not traditional, but government intervention, millions of people would have been destitute, but they were very flexible. Like, we're going to try these new economic things to like actually help our people. So you can see another one is like roots and branches. That's another one you can look at, or constitution versus legislation. These are different ways of.
What do you say to Kenny says there's something that is purity and the other thing is, you have a slide, what is purity?
There we go.
Purity is the force, the next one. Yeah, so that force and principle.
Yeah. Okay. So you have this in 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and it talks about the idealistic form of speaking, the highest form of speaking, and you find that that's actually a spectrum, again, of sensitivity and sensibility. And I found this acronym, not the whole acronym, in my son's middle school textbook. It had everything except for the S. But this is straight from Bhagavad Gita. So the yogi, he thinks before he speaks. So it's truthful, satyam, it is helpful. So this is hitam, inspiring, necessary. kind. Like you could tell somebody, oh, your ears are so big. That's the truth. But is it necessary? Is it kind? But then sometimes you want to have optimally all these things, but sometimes, as we said, it's a spectrum. Sometimes if someone's building is on fire, Mars, hello, Mars, your building's on fire. No, you're like screaming, you're screaming. You're cursing, you're trying to get the attention. Kids are playing in the street, get the hell out of the street, So it's not very sensitive. It's just sensible. And then sometimes, like I went to a funeral today. They had nice spiritual talks. But say you had a funeral of somebody in your family, and they don't see you as like some spiritual guru or something like that. They didn't ask you to come and say some philosophy. So you don't go up while they're having the memorial and say, hey guys, don't worry, we are not the body. We're not the body. Why? If he's the body, then he's right. The body's right there. No, you don't say. You're sensitive. I've spoken at many funerals, but I was spoken as the priest. They asked me to come and say some verses in the Gita, and I say, we are not the body. But that's what they're asking for. So this spectrum of sensibility. And again, you see this sensitivity is like that heart, and sensibility is like that intellect. So here's a question. If God, Krishna, tells you to do something, should you do it?
Yes.
No. Trick question. Actually, this is the first, we have our book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 Sanskrit verses. And the first pastime in the whole book, there's a lot of philosophy, first canto, and the first pastime is the pastime of Ashvatthama. Ashvatthama was the murderer of Arjuna's son, Bhima's son, Yudhishthir's son, Nakul's son, Sahadev's. He killed 5 people's sons in their sleep. He murdered their kids in their sleep. And Arjuna found this out. He said, I'm going to kill him. And Krishna said, kill that fool, kill him. And Arjuna's like, I'm going to kill him. And the wife's like, yes, get him. And then Arjuna chased after him and caught him. But something, he didn't feel like killing him. He just captured him. And he brought him to the wife. And Draupadi is like, his mother has already lost her husband. The father had died. I don't want her to experience the pain I'm now feeling. And so she said, you shouldn't kill him. He is the son of your teacher. And so she presented all these different consequences. But there were also, you could say, principled consequences. It's like deontology and consequentialism coming together. These are not just consequences that it's an opportunity for me, but rather they're consequences based on eternal principles. It's a marriage of these two things. So you have Krishna. Arjuna's brother Bhima said, kill the guy. And then Yudhishthira, Arjuna's oldest brother, and his wife said, don't kill him. And Arjuna did something that was considered equal to death. He cut the man's, he insulted the man in such a way that it was considered scripturally to be as equal to death for someone of high standing. And Krishna said, good job. And so the idea is that he was actually being tested. It was called pari-akshata, that he was being examined. And that it's not just you get a rule and you do it, but we always have to have that deep spiritual reflection. Not that we be just always justified in whatever we do. We rationalize. You know what rationalize means? We take out our lies and we ration them out. Rationalize, you know. But rather, we're always deeply reflective. Am I doing the right thing? And so, it's very important. So, the question is, what can you do? What are some advices we can give? So you have this intuition of our heart, but it's also mixed in with our own desire. Sometimes, because the Lord is in with our heart, and there's some instruction that is there. And we can also accompany that instruction by checking different sources. One of them is the sacred literature. Then you have the examples of people who follow, who are gurus or people who are emulations of those texts in person. And then the association of those who are spiritual practitioners. These three you can inquire from and see, does it all line up? It's not like ChatGPT, like ChatGPT, you say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm thinking of starting a llama business. And ChatGPT was like, man, that is a great idea. This is, these are the prices of llamas, and it would just gas you up. It would just but if you're around deeply spiritually minded persons, ask with sincerity, hey, is this the right thing? They'll tell you with clarity, like, no, I think that wasn't so good. If there's some sincerity there. So we use that intuition from within, and then from without, we have this kind of 3-part check system. We can kind of check and always have this reflective mood. And so that's a little bit about the subject of purity and utility, ideal and opportunity. Om Tat Sat, thanks a lot. Hare Krishna. Yes. So, any last reflections or questions? Yes.
I think one of the guiding forces for deciding about actions is intuition, right? So sometimes intuition might be wrong as well, right? So
Yeah.
And I think the answer is called discernment. But how do you develop that? How do you know that you're
Find someone who has it.
Yeah.
What's her name? Champaka Mala gave a class here, and she advised you have these two characters in Mahabharata. You have Yudhishthira and Duryodhana, and they were asked a question: go around the kingdom and find someone who is better than you. And Duryodhana couldn't find anyone that was better than him, and Yudhishthira couldn't find anyone he thought he was better than. Everybody was better than him. But it's important to find someone that puts you in a state of growth. That it's, we have our peers, that's important, but someone who we should seek out, someone that I wish I had this person's integrity, or this person's discipline, or this person's honesty. Something that we don't have. Seek out people that have those things in a higher degree than we have. And we have to actually seek those out. You're not going to just find that person very easily. And that kind of association puts us in that, not comfort zone, but that stretch zone. And those are the ones that we can often ask these questions. Otherwise, we can be in our echo chamber. One of my, inspirations for talking about this is that you see the political ideologies. We need both of these. You couldn't say a Republican or a Democrat is necessarily fits into one of these, because both of them have ideals and kind of also work with consequentialism. But you could say in general, conservatism is more of these are the ideals. And liberalism, these are the kind of reactive, And you can see that you actually need both of these things. There's what is called Schrodinger's fence. Have you heard of this, Schrodinger's fence? It means like you've come across some old ancient fence or wall, and you might not know why it's there. But if you're a little bit introspective, you may ask, maybe there is a purpose. Maybe I shouldn't just tear this thing down. And maybe there's some weeds that have grown into it that are not necessarily a part of the original thing. For example, how many of you think that every student in America has to study algebra? Do you think everyone has to study algebra or calculus? Does everybody have to study calculus? Is it possible to have education that's more tailor-made? Is that okay? Or does everybody always have to study the same things? So I know in Germany, they do like at 14, people are kind of already having a sense of their skill sets, and they start going to trade schools, or if they're more in intellectual fields, they go to university. That's like they're really kind of hone into their. Now, if you look at the ancient system of India, you have this idea that in every culture you have brahmanas, intellectuals. You have the intellectual leadership of society, teachers, philosophers, doctors. In every culture you have political leaders. Every culture you have economic leaders, merchants. In every culture you have employees. You have someone who works under somebody else. And so if you were to study Hinduism in the West, the first thing they're going to mention is caste system, which is this idea that all those four things are based by birth. But if you go deep into the culture, you see that's a degradation. Manu Samhita, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam say it's all your nature and your quality. If you act like a priest, like you have Jabali Rishi, his mother was a prostitute, but he was enrolled in the school because he was so honest. Didn't matter who his mother was. You have Vishwamitra, he became you have so many examples that are there, that it didn't matter the birth, it matters their nature and their qualities. So with something that is ancient, we should go very slowly and surgically find, okay, is this just a weed or is this something of real substance? So maybe, yeah, we have this caste system. Do you throw away the idea of specialized education? Maybe not, but maybe get rid of the dogmatic sides that are actually corruptions from how time corrupts things. And maybe one last question, otherwise let's go to the dinner. Okay. Om Tat Sat, thanks a lot. Thank you all very much. And so we do this every Saturday. Thank you for coming. And so we have some other events you can connect to. We have Tuesday night kirtan every Tuesday. Beautiful meditation. Full band. We had just like 3 of us today. We have a nice full band today at Tuesday night kirtan. And there's also these community groups that you can join. These are the links where you can connect. Basically, if you go to the Bhakti Center's website, you can learn about everything. But you can also find out, we announce once a week, we just make an announcement of the different speakers and the topics for this. So if you want to update on the speaker and topics, give us feedback. If you want to be a volunteer or join a community group, these are the opportunities that are there. And so everyone can, you can all get in line and we'll have a nice, delicious dinner. Hare Krishna.